Well, certainly never thought I'd get to say this. Mark Giordano is a Leaf! My voice cracked and so did Twitter when we had to wait like 2 hours for this news. We got 2 trades to talk about in depth. Mark Giordano becoming a Leaf along with Colin Blackwell and Travis Dermott getting traded to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the first sign that the Leafs were maybe up to something today is when they sent Nick Robertson down to the Toronto Marlies, which obviously they can do without waivers because he's so young. The first sign that something was coming down the pipe today is when the Leafs sent Nick Robertson down to the minors, which they can do without waivers because he's so young. And while he doesn't require waivers, the Leafs still put 3 guys there. Number 1, Kyle Clifford. That one's not shocking. Number 2, Peter Mrazek, that is. And number 3, Hari Sateri, which to me was the most shocking on account of I was like, who's Hari Sateri? And then I thought a little bit and I was like, oh, I know that name, but he ain't on the Leafs. When I saw Elliot Friedman tweet that out, I thought he made a mistake. Like I was like, isn't he on the Blues or something? So here's what happened. Hari Sateri is a goalie from Finland. He played for Sabir Novosibirsk of the KHL this past season, and most notably for Team Finland, who won an Olympic gold medal. He was a goalie for Team Finland. He's a gold medalist. Now, he's not a young up-and-coming guy. Don't expect him to get better than he is. He is 32 years old. He played 9 games for Florida years ago. But if you go and look at his numbers from over the years, granted not in the NHL, but here, there, and everywhere, they've been quite good. He signed a 1-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs, $750,000, so league minimum, and a one-way deal. So I saw some people panicking about that. The one-way deal basically just guarantees that he's going to make $750,000, whether it's with the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Toronto Marlies. That's fine. That's the cost of doing business. And I believe they could send him down to the minors without waivers if he clears it, because he needs to clear it in order to sign, which is such a bizarre rule, and we've talked about it on the podcast before. The most notorious example in recent memory that I can think of is, I believe it was Evgeny Nabokov signed a contract with, I think it was the Detroit Red Wings, and he had to go through waivers, and the Islanders claimed him. Like, waivers is there so that players who would otherwise be getting sent to the minors could find an NHL opportunity. It makes sense that the players would want waivers. It's stressful going on waivers, it's stressful having to pack up your life and go somewhere else, but you could be making $750,000 in a year instead of 70. Because remember, not every player makes like $9, $10, $11 million. But for a European free agent to sign with a team and then have to go through waivers and potentially go to a team he didn't agree to a contract with the next day, I don't understand how that helps anybody. But anyway, that's the situation, and it just adds to the Leafs' goalie depth, which they need to shore up on account of Peter Mrazek has been quite bad, and Joseph Woll was injured recently. You might remember him from earlier this season with the Leafs. Peter Mrazek going on waivers is a whopper. If someone takes him, holy smokes, that's huge cap relief this season, next season, and the season after. It's possible. I think it might be wishful thinking, but they can still bury him in the minors and get some cap savings there. I don't want to talk about that one in too much depth because I'm obviously going to have to talk about it tomorrow around 2 o'clock, which I think is 1 hour before the deadline. So we're not going to have an answer on that until 1 hour before the deadline. It's wild. So that was all the waiver nonsense. There was cap implications and everything, and it affected this deal. Here's why we had to wait until 5 o'clock for the Mark Giordano trade. According to Cap Friendly, waiting until after 5 p.m. Eastern to complete the Giordano trade would definitely provide some additional flexibility for the Leafs in terms of creating the space needed to fit him under the cap. It would give them the benefit of saving Clifford and Mrazek's cap space if they clear. How does this work? The cap is calculated daily at 5 p.m. Teams can temporarily exceed the cap between 5 p.m. spans. Toronto can exceed the upper limit after 5 p.m. today. Wait for waivers to clear tomorrow at 2 p.m., send those players down, and be compliant for 5 p.m. tomorrow. Yada, yada, yada. The Leafs waited until 5 o'clock to add Mark Giordano because they could afford him, if they do. If they didn't wait until 5, they couldn't. That's how skin of the teeth they are right now with the salary cap, but Brandon Pridham and company getting their calculators out and making it work. So, the Leafs give up 2 seconds and a third. Do you care? Why? You don't know those people. To that you might say, how dare you, one of my best friends is a second-round pick. First of all, yeah, in Be A Pro maybe. First of all, draft picks are magic beans. Now, giving up a first-rounder, like last year with Nick Foligno, That's tough. Because while all draft picks are magic beans, they're shots in the dark, you can be pretty confident that a first round pick is going to pan out, even a late one. Like here, you want to give up Rasmus Sandin in a trade? No, you probably don't. Well, he was a late first. A second round pick for a team that's doing as well in the regular season as the Leafs are, we're talking about a pick in the 50s. It's way different. And the Leafs give up two of those, one in 2022, another in 2023, and a third rounder in 2024. So it's nice and spread out. That works for the Leafs purposes because it sort of takes away the blow of losing all your draft picks in 1 year. And it works for Seattle because they are not rebuilding, they are building, literally building. They are not a Vegas-style expansion team. They are an old-school expansion team. They don't have much right now, and they don't look like they're going to be good for the rest of the season, and they don't look like they're going to be good next season, but they're going to take steps towards getting good with those draft picks over the course of years. It makes sense. Before we get to Giordano, I was excited for Colin Blackwell. That's a good player. 5'9" forward, so I'm sure a lot of Leaf fans are gonna roll their eyes. Oh, here's another small forward. Yeah, okay, fair, but he's good, so like, chill. He can play center and wing, which is great. Not a lot of Leafs can do both. Sorry, not a lot of Leafs can do both well. Engvall can do both, and I like him on the third line as a winger. If he has to be the third line center, I think they're in trouble. Despite being in his mid-20s, Blackwell had a breakout season with the New York Rangers last season, with 12 goals and 22 points in just 47 games. Not bad for a depth player you had essentially never heard of, right? He played 47 games with the Rangers last season and just 33 in his entire career before that. This year, again, as a depth guy on a not very good team, he has 17 points in 39 games with the Kraken, roughly half a point a game. Just 4 penalty minutes in 39 games, which is legitimately hard to do, especially if you're in some sort of bang and crash shutdown role. It's hard to do it all, really. Like, he's only taken 2 penalties. You've seen how refs call NHL games. You never know what they're gonna do. The Leafs are looking to give their fourth line a shot in the arm, and Blackwell can probably do that. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Keefe played with the idea of maybe giving him a look on the third line, possibly even the second with Tavares and Nylander, just to see if it works. I doubt it, though. Now, Mark Giordano! Holy cow! I saw some people look at Mrazek going on waivers and going, oh, well, the Leafs are going to have a hard time attracting free agents because he's signed here and look what happened. Same thing with Nick Ritchie. Yeah, all right, that's a fair point. But you know what Peter Mrazek and Nick Ritchie are is not Mark Giordano! He is a former captain in the NHL. He is a former Messier Leadership Award winner. He is a former Norris winner. He is a Toronto boy. He actually wants to come here. He is a defenseman who is good at defense. I don't care. Make room for the guy. Bring him in. It's awesome. Little bit of offense, sprinkle that in there. A lot of defensive awareness, bring that in there all the way, please. It sounds like there is at least some sort of idea that he'd be open to staying. We're not going to focus too hard on that right now. It would make the deal awesome if he did, but right now the Leafs are focused on playoff success this year. Oh, and the Seattle Kraken retain half his salary. Sick. So, at different times throughout the season, despite the fact that Brodie Riley seemed to pretty obviously be the best pair the Leafs had, they broke them up. And then when Muzzin got hurt, they broke them up kind of permanently. And with Riley and Lyubushkin as a pair kind of working out decently, the Leafs can reunite the old Calgary pair of Mark Giordano and TJ Brodie. Meaning, in a couple days, the Leafs could have a lineup of Riley Lyubushkin, Giordano Brodie, Sandin Liljegren or Sandin Hall, and Jake Muzzin is going to come back. So then it's Riley Lyubushkin, it's Giordano and Brodie, and then like Muzzin Sandin? Muzzin Liljegren? Muzzin Hall as the third pair? I have a hard time believing Sandin's going to be a healthy scratch. And keep in mind, guys get hurt, you know? The Leafs got better on the ice with this deal. Much better. It's a win. It at very least keeps them afloat in an Atlantic division that is frankly an arms race. Keeping in mind that it is not even the trade deadline yet, and the Florida Panthers have added Ben Sherratt, Claude Giroux, and Robert Hagg. Tampa Bay Lightning are the Tampa Bay Lightning and added Brandon Hagel. The Boston Bruins added Hampus Lindholm. And now the Leafs have added Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell. The first round in the East and the Atlantic alone must watch hockey. Now the Leafs did make one selling move and it makes sense and it made me sad. Travis Dermott, who I forgot makes $1.5 million against the cap, going to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a third-round pick, this one originally belonging to the Winnipeg Jets. So, Travis Dermott barely got into the Leafs lineup recently. He was basically given his last game the other night against the Nashville Predators. It stung him that he didn't get to play in the outdoor game. And with Mark Giordano coming in, a guy who already had trouble getting in the lineup, Dermott was never really going to get a shot. He was going to be like their 8th guy, 9th guy. One thing you got to say about Kyle Dubas is he generally does right by his players. If they're not in a great situation, he does what he can to get them out of it. Travis Dermott is going to get to play in Vancouver. And by the way, Vancouver essentially trading Travis Hamonic for Travis Dermott is a heist. A lot of Leaf fans are going to roll their eyes and remember Travis Dermott for the mistakes. Most notably, the giveaway in overtime in Game 6 against the Montreal Canadiens last year. I'm sorry to bring it up, but you have to in this conversation. I'm going to remember Travis Dermott as a good guy. As a guy who badly wanted to be a Toronto Maple Leaf from the time he was a kid. Badly wanted to be a Toronto Maple Leaf from the time he was drafted. Badly wanted to be a Toronto Maple Leaf all the way up until the moment he was traded. There's lots of evidence of him being good with fans. Lots of evidence of him being good with kids. He wore pride tape on his stick during games, which a lot of players weren't willing to do outside of warm-up. Told the story before, but I'll tell it again. When the Leafs were eliminated in the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs, he got sent down to the Toronto Marlies, saved their playoff run essentially in the first round, allowing them to win Game 5 against the Utica Comets, the Vancouver Canucks farm team. The Marlies go all the way to the Calder Cup final. They go to Game 7. Travis Dermott has been hurt the whole time, and instead of trying to tough it out, instead of being selfish, he gives up his roster spot, and the Marlies end up winning that game and winning the Calder Cup. He's only 24. There's a solid chance he gets better. There's a solid chance he gets a better opportunity in Vancouver. He can play the left. He can play the right. I think he's a pretty good skater. He's a creative player. Sometimes too creative. Sometimes he's got some snarl, maybe too much snarl. He is a chaotic player, but if he calms down, maybe picks up some of those West Coast vibes, he could be a real good fit in Vancouver. And I am just jealous for the guy that the Vancouver Canucks got. Good for them and good for Travis. Someone posted his first NHL goal, that goal he scored against the Islanders with the huge celly. And it just made me sad. It made me really sad. Because here's the thing. It's not just that the Leafs have lost in the first round over and over and over again. It's the hope that came before. It's the hope that came with the youth movement, the hope that came with the 2015 draft and the 2016 draft and the 2016-17 season and 17-18 season. And this team is going to take strides and they're going to learn together and go through pain together and then win together. And to see them not quite win together and some of them head out the door, Hyman, Connor Brown, Dermott, it hurts. You get attached to these players and it kind of sucks. So the Leafs make a necessary cap move, but congratulations to the Vancouver Canucks. I wish Travis Dermott genuinely nothing but the best of luck. So I'm going to end it there on account of all the waiver wire news. We're not going to have an answer until tomorrow. The Leafs still have the rest of today and tomorrow to make deals. I don't think Dubas is done. I don't. And I think it could be a wild scramble at the end for the Leafs. I think I'm going to be making videos into the evening tomorrow because a lot seems to depend on their waiver wire situation. Plus, there's the Brendan Menell trade, potentially, that I mentioned yesterday. Joey Duzak's another guy they're looking at moving. There's a potential for a very busy Kyle Dubas day tomorrow on account of he got probably his biggest business taken care of today. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Great to be a good hockey player. Better to be a good person.